Good afternoon. How are we doing today? Today is Friday. It is Friday the 13th, which is always ominous. Couldn't have picked this on a better day. Welcome to the first episode of Brews and Reviews. I am your host, Nine Realms Publishing founder and creator of properties such as Elysian Fields, The Embrace, and SPQR's Bizarre Adventure, and many more to come. And today we are here to talk about an indie book and enjoy a beer. So first things first, let's take a look at the beverage we got today. Today we're enjoying a lovely Devil's Backbone Vienna lager. Hopefully that doesn't get me struck, but I mean, you know how YouTube is. So enjoying our first sip. Great way to start off the video. Anyways, so currently we have all of one person in our chat. Hello, Arrogant Ape. Welcome. And he is first. And then, of course, there's me assuring people that I am here. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, I started like right on time, right at 2 p.m. No late and gay for me. And we've got no D-Wag. You were not first. Arrogant Ape got here before you. 1:38 p.m. He was hanging out. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us here today. As I said, we're going to be doing a little bit of a review. We're going to be talking about this book right here, Peregrine, Wings of the Falcon. This was actually one of my most anticipated when I first got into indie crowdfunding, and I've read it. I've read it twice at this point. Oh my goodness, the chat just blew up. We've got Arrogant Ape back in. Good afternoon. I'll be drinking coffee, not Irish here, unfortunately. Hey, man. Hopefully you can enjoy one here in a little bit. We've got Creators Outlet saying hail in the chat. Thanks, guys, for showing up. Thank you. So, as I said, we're going to be reviewing Peregrine, Wings of the Falcon, which is the first book produced by the Graded Point 5 team. Scott McCullough, I believe, handled the script. Let me pull this bad boy out, and we're going to make sure that we get everyone's name right here. So credits for this, our story was by Xavier Harkley and Scott McCullough. Script was by Scott McCullough, which is what I thought. Based on reconstruction by Xavier Harkley. Art by Douglas Franchen. Colors by Farad Normaliza. Letters by Eric Weathers. And edited by Piper Steed. And a four-way creative partnership on the main character between the Graded Point 5 crew. And so, yeah. Oh, man. This whole thing just blew up. We got Jason. We got Jason here in the chat. He says, I'm just here listening at work and vent day. Hi to everyone. Hello, Jason. D-Wag really did bring the party here. This is a poppin' chat. Double A. D-Wag always attracts the crowd. No you. Outstanding. Look at that lovely chat. Anyways, so Peregrine Wings of the Falcon is pitched as in a wake of catastrophic event that has left the planet in shambles and decimated the hero community. The survivors now work towards putting the world back together as Earth still licks its wounds from its greatest threat to date. There are those who would take advantage of this situation for power and gain. New heroes rise in order to give people hope, and one has the power to be the beacon. Will she continue to walk away from her destiny? Peregrine Wings of the Falcon. So what drew me to this book initially, we've got Genuine Comics in the chat. Hello, Dave. Hello. So when I first heard about this book, it was kind of, I believe I was on actually Peter Sameti's 5-minute pitch show. I was waiting to have my turn, and I came after Piper. And like the things that really drew me to it is this kind of promise to be a love letter to Bronze Age storytelling in comics. It was, their answer to mainstream industry critics of the independent scene and CG saying, you guys don't have any icons. And so this was an attempt to create some iconic characters, which I thought was really cool, very unique. And when I looked at it, it didn't at all feel like, it wasn't like they were trying to make something that was derivative. It felt like a genuine attempt to create a new character and set them in this universe that had some familiarity, that felt like the books that got us all into comics, but had its own identity. So I was very highly anticipating that. And DWAG says that he is back from going on to the slums of Twitter and tweeting that I'm doing this here. But so yeah, it was a really, really strong concept. It was something that drew me to it immediately. And I mean, obviously it drew a lot of people to it. Peregrine was very successful on Indiegogo, raising, I think, over 100,000. Double checking right now. I'll even share the campaign here so we can look at this. Sometimes it helps to be prepared. And I am unfortunately not there today. Oh man, we're gonna get there, Will. I see you there in the chat. Okay. So here we have Peregrine Wings of the Falcon. It did not break 100K. I could have sworn it did more than this, but it's still 53,000 with 1,177 backers. That is absolutely fantastic. And Creators Outlet puts out how many years to take to get this book out, though, and it did take a very long time. From what I understand, there was obviously tension in the graded 0.5 community, but none of this is going to be addressing any of the drama. And I do want to make sure that as we begin this review and I start to actually talk about my thoughts on it, what I want to make sure I'm very clear about here is none of the critique or feedback that I'm giving in this book is in any way a personal attack to any of the people that were writing, that were on the creative team of this book. This is me putting down my thoughts about how this book was handled, its strengths and its weaknesses, what could be improved upon, and what they did well. For those people that don't know, when I do reviews, I kind of try to follow an Army AAR kind of format, which is an after action review, where you summarize what happens, you go through bit by bit, and then you talk about 3 sustains, 3 improves. And that's kind of how I modeled my review structures. I think it's very helpful. It's a great way to give constructive feedback and touch up on things that you really liked, but also address things that, no book's perfect. There are things that we can all do better, and we should all be striving to do better. And we've got Genuine Comics saying, damn, over 50K is incredible. It is absolutely fantastic. Like a great debut campaign for this team. And fulfillment issues aside and what have you, this was a very promising book. Then we got Buddy Lord has entered the chat. Buddy Lord, Sins of the Fae. And we got D-Wags is saying Perfect 10 will get there. And I'm sure it will. Dave is gaining traction with every book, bringing in new customers, and it's no secret as to why. He has a fantastic product, and he's a good storyteller, which is a great segue into Peregrine. So Peregrine, I've read this book twice now. Generally, when you do reviews, you read once to try and enjoy it, and then once to try and be analytical and go through. So like a minimum of 2 reads. And so let's start off on the things that were done right here. So as far as here, let's stop sharing this screen. So as far as this book is concerned, the things that immediately stand out with it as far as its strengths are core concepts. There are some fantastic ideas presented in this book, namely in their characters. Peregrine herself is from her design and what she's intended to do. There's a lot of potential in her. and the universe around her has some other characters that are floating around that are equally well thought out and are very strong. The art in this book, which is helmed by, as I said, Douglas Franchen, is beautiful. I mean, I believe this was on their campaign page, but, really good examples of just some stellar art. Farah Normaliza, who did the colors, I've worked with before. She actually did a Support Our Troops cover for Elysian Fields Pyramid Gambit way back in the day with Ted Lehman. Here's another just great action piece. I mean, even this is just very pretty. The art direction, the art handling of the art here is very good. And the visual aspect of this book is easily its greatest strength. Sorry, I am really just, I have all my notes here and it's just like trying to get them together. Anyways, now time for the things that need to be improved, which pretty much is the storytelling in and of itself. When it comes down to this book, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that should be in here that isn't, and there's a lot of stuff that isn't in there that is in there that shouldn't. Lee Byron Carver, a man called Kemosabe, constantly talks about the reader is more intelligent than a lot of writers give credit for. And there are a lot of things that a reader can apply through subtext that you don't need to contextualize. And one of the things that I will say about Peregrine is there are a lot of moments where you needed that context and it wasn't given, or you could imply everything through subtext and you were beaten over the head with context. So to showcase kind of like two really good examples of this is, one of the, obviously like the big thing that kind of kicks this off is the death of this character's father, who's effectively this world's Superman. And so the book starts off and they are at the funeral and there's this sequence of panels here, right? And in this second panel here, we have a narration saying, I have these legends coming to me, expressing their feelings about his death. But then we look at the characters here and we see nobody in superhero costumes. Everybody's in kind of, formal funeral attire. How am I supposed to know that these are legends? This is where your visual storytelling comes in. Like, why aren't the characters in this panel all decked out? Like, if this is supposed to be the death of Superman, I mean, go and look back at the Death of Superman comics, right? Everybody is decked out in not only like their costumes, but it's like the Sunday best equivalent of their superhero costume. Like Green Lantern's wearing a cloak, Wonder Woman's got all of her like her starred cape, her sword, everything. She's decked out. And so all of that context is given because this is how important of a character this guy is. And so when we look at this book and we see this and we see the character talking about how she's surrounded by legends who are trying to give her condolences, you don't get that if the people she's surrounded by are just dressed up normally. The audience isn't going to get that. I mean, they can assume, and it's like, okay, yeah, but like this is a visual medium, right? Show it. Don't hide it. Don't hide it behind funeral attire, right? And then on the opposite end, this is probably my least favorite portion of the book is, let's see. Starting on this page right here, we have 3 pages of exposition where we've got just expo dump after expo dump to try and fill you in on the relation dynamic between the main character and her dad. And we're talking, on one page, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 bubbles. And Arrogant Ape goes, is this about the hospital scene? Yes, it is. It is about the hospital scene. And this thing is egregious. This whole scene, there's a scene in Flashpoint at the very end where Flash comes back. He's told the whole story to Bruce, and we just get like the very end of this telling, and Bruce is like, that's crazy. And then Flash hands him a letter that was written by Thomas Wayne Batman, and Bruce reads it and then drops it and cries. He said, yeah, I had a similar issue. It went really, really overboard beating this dead horse. Yes, no, absolutely. So Bruce gets this letter, drops it, cries, tell Barry he's a hell of a messenger. And Barry goes on his way. And you only ever get to see a tiny snippet of that letter. But as an audience, that's really all you need, because you know exactly what Thomas is going to say. You know exactly what a father is going to say to their son that, they lost. Like all those things. Like you can imagine it. It's in your head. And in fact, it being in your head is even better, right? Because now you get to put those words in the character's mouth. You get to imagine the emotions that these characters shared with one another through that one interaction of a single letter. And all you get is like a sign off that is your standard, your loving dad, so-and-so. Odin Dasco says the artist probably hated to draw everyone in plain clothes. I know I do. I mean, like, and that's all well and good. But some artists prefer actually like doing the, real world attire. But the important thing for me here is that the storytelling here just really feels off. And what's weird to me about that is you've got so many people in the credits of this book involved with the storytelling, right? You would think that, the main story is constructed by these two individuals. You have a script that's written by one of those, but you have an editor. And the editor's job is effectively to be the last line of defense. And the editor on this book has actively built a pretty solid reputation with most of the people that I know that have worked with her at being pretty good at her job. And so I can't imagine that there were a lot of these things that she didn't notice. And so the thing that makes me curious is why are they still there? Because that's what the whole point is. When you have a creative team, everybody has a role, right? In the army, when you're in a fire team, you've got each guy has a different job, and there's this whole expression called "stay in your lane." And an editor's job is to look at the script, look at what's being done with the art, look at all of these things, and go, "This works, this works, this sucks, get rid of it. This works, this sucks, get rid of it." Right? They are there to protect you from storytelling pitfalls. And what I get from this book is that either the reputation this person's built isn't accurate, which I know isn't the case, because as I said, like I know the people she works with, they wouldn't sing her praises if they didn't feel like she was. Or people didn't want to listen. And I can't speak, obviously, to one or the other. But if you have someone that's in that position and you've entrusted them with that position, every single edit that they bring to you is treated as gospel. There's no arguing. There's no nothing. It's, okay, we hired you to do this. We're going to do it. And I think that that's one of the big things is like the storytelling is unfortunately the weakest part of this book. And there are some really great things in here. As I said, strong character concepts. The main villain of this book is effectively almost like Maxwell Lord, right? He has electrical powers that he can use to affect the synapses and neurons in your brain and persuade you to do things. And when you finally find out what this character's motivation in the book is, it kind of feels flat. And I just can't I can't wrap my head around it, because it's like these guys have all the ingredients, right? You have beautiful art, you have beautiful presentation, you have these fantastic concepts, and some of these characters really just stand out. But then you see the execution, and you're kind of just left wondering what happened. And this is a 48-page book. There's a lot of page real estate to be done here. And there are certain scenes that I felt should have been longer, should have been used as opportunities to flesh out our protagonist and give her more of a personality. And there are certain scenes where they're so focused on trying to fill you in on the backstory of this world, it just feels like it's smacking you across the face with it. And, pacing is a tough thing. Any storyteller will tell you that the hardest thing to figure out is how to pace your story. And there's a lot of things that you may want to tell the reader, but it's so important. It's so critical that you do this in a way that doesn't feel overbearing. And I feel like that's where Peregrine ultimately fails. There are even some scenes that I feel like they're trying to showcase certain things about her character being like a strong, independent woman and what have you, but it doesn't come off that way. It kind of comes off pretty crude. I get, you're trying to push that this character is a female protagonist, and she has a strength of will, she has a strength of identity and everything. I mean, she was willing to go against her dad's wishes in becoming a superhero to go off and do her own track. That's going to have a certain kind of persona. But the way that these things are handled just don't feel particularly tasteful. And I mean, you even have a character introduction. So you get to meet this guy, this guy here on this one page. And within this guy's kind of alluded to be almost this universe's Batman in a way. And within a page turn, he gets his back cracked. He's taken out. And there's no real build up to that. And I think that that's where Peregrine really falls short. There is a lot of potential for this story. There really is. There's a lot good here. And if you took what they had and just tweaked it a little bit in certain areas, this would be a professional book, full stop. But the thing that prevents it from rising to that occasion, to being what they pitched it as, this, inheritor of the legacy of Bronze Age storytelling. I believe the one that I heard was Legion of Superheroes was their big inspiration. They really wanted to capture Legion of Superheroes. But the thing that they've got the art, they've got the visual side of it and many points in the book, but they're missing the story element. And that's really what crushes this. So as far as if I were to rate this out of, we'll do 5-star reviews, because I think that's kind of the standard thing. So if I were to rate this out of 5 stars, I'd probably give it a 2 to 2.5. It's got beautiful visual storytelling. The art is gorgeous. The production quality is good. Good cover stock, decent paperweight. It feels like a high production book. But at the end of the day, there is an element of comics that relies on the writers and their ability to craft a story. And there is part of me that wonders if the creative room got way too crowded and there were just too many voices going on at one time, or if, I know that, as I said, there was drama that happened with the graded 0.5 crew. I don't know how much that played into the storytelling here, but whatever was the cause, whatever happened behind the scenes, it hurt the storytelling. And that's what really holds this book back. I think that this book absolutely could have been a 5-star book. It's got everything else there. And the thing that really hampers it is it's not particularly well paced. It's got promising characters, but doesn't really do anything with them. And the story just kind of ends and it falls flat. And unfortunately, as it stands, I wouldn't go back and back a book 2. And it's a shame because, as I said, there's a lot of potential there. I would love nothing more than to give this a 5-star. This was a book that I was very much looking forward to. And Genuine Comics says the smaller the creative team, the better, I think. And I think that that's true to a certain degree. I think that I look at this and the more that I think about it, it's like, you have 4 people involved with the story in some shape, way or the other. And, you've got an editor, but like at the end of the day, how much editing were they really allowed to do? If you've got these many people arguing over story points, if you've got these many people, well, this is our story, it kind of becomes a situation where, like, even if you have an editor, well, we're the 3 of us and we're telling you that we want to keep this. And I don't I'm not sure if that's what's happened. I'm not sure if that this is in no way meant to be a direct accusation or anything like that. But I that's the only thing that really comes to my mind when I look at this book is I see the potential. I really do. I see where this concept can soar, and I see where it could be good. I see where it can really do well. But where it drops the ball is in how it presents those elements. And, in this opening scene where you're supposed to be established in the world, they don't hold your hand at all, where visually they could be showcasing the diversity of its world. Buddy Lord says, a comic written by committee is a visual checklist, not a comic book. That is a very interesting take and probably has a severe grain of truth to it. Delightful. Okay. But, as I said, it is unfortunate because they did really have something here. I don't know if they are planning on doing a book 2 or when. And who knows, maybe if they do a book 2, they learn from the mistakes. I hope that they do. They do have something here. There is something in Peregrine, but they need to focus on the storytelling elements and making sure that the story is well paced, making sure that the characters are fleshed out and that the audience feels attached to them. Because otherwise, you don't really have a story. Stories are driven by characters. Stories are driven by character and incident. These things that they're these 2 elements that play off one another. And this story, I don't really see that dynamic. I just see stuff happens and they want you to know who these characters are in the context of their world, but they don't want you to know these characters. I don't really feel like I know. Like, there's a reason why I've been calling it the main character of Peregrine, because I can't even remember her name. I think it's Jessica. What's your name? What's your name? The only one of the characters that I remember their name is the villain, Max. And you know what? That might not even be right. Yeah, not a. Yeah, so she is Jessica, and the let me make sure that I have this right, because all right, so he goes by she goes by Jessie, and this guy goes by, I can't even find where he introduces himself. Man, does he? I know he has a name. It comes up. Well, I'm not going to keep trying to search for this, but I mean, I think that obviously tells you something. This is where this character is introduced, and I can't find his name. God, what are your name? Okay, I'm gonna stop doing that. Okay, that was a fun like 3 minutes of dead space. I apologize for that. But yeah, no, like the villain of this book is fun. I really like his powers, really like his personality. But at the end of the day, I read this book twice. I've read this book twice, and I can't tell you the names of anybody outside of Peregrine because she's the main character. And that's really it. And I feel like after a 48-page journey, I should have a bit more of a connection than that, like, and that's one of those things. So as I said, I would give this a 2.5 out of 5 stars for the visual presentation and the quality of the book alone. But in terms of whether I'd back again, I doubt it, unless they really showcase that they were upping their game with their writing. And if it's such an overcrowded writing room and there's not enough critical feedback going in and trying to make things work that aren't working, then you're not going to have that. You're just going to have voices lost in an echo chamber. But yeah, so this has been the first review of Brews and Reviews. I know it's pretty short, but it's one comic. I'm not going through like a whole list of them. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to go through and analyze one of these. I'm not going to go and do like a page by page breakdown. It's also a little bit more difficult because there was no digital file of the book. So it's not like I could just pull stuff up, and me holding this book up to you and trying to showcase pages to you. It takes more time, and you don't really get the quality of it because, light glares off the gloss of the page and everything. But yeah, so this has been the first one of these. It was a little bit rougher than I was expecting. I'm usually better about talking about this sort of thing, but today was just an off day. Must be this whole Friday the 13th thing. Anyways, let's open the floor to some questions about the book. Actually, that sounds like a good idea. Genuine Comics is asking, is it a complete story? No, this is supposed to be the first book of an overarching series. And first books, as first books go, you have specific things to accomplish, namely setting up your world and getting the audience attached to their characters. And as I said, it certainly didn't do that for me. Do we have any other questions? I know that Creators Outlet a while ago asked how many years did it take to get this book out. I think a year and a half. I got it here this past either in the winter of 2021 or like January 2022. It's definitely been a bit. But yeah, if we don't have any other questions or anything, I'm probably going to wrap up. I am going to be on Professor Murph this evening. We're going to be talking about the history of Friday the 13th. Hopefully I do not flail around like I did today. This was definitely not the most ideal start of a stream, but I mean, hey, it's been a while since I've produced my own content. Everyone that knows me knows everything that I've been through over the past year. Oh man, we've got a commie Mark in the chat coming in towards the tail end. Hail spam. Yes. But yeah, so as I said, I will be on Professor Murph's this evening at 9 p.m. EST. We're going to be chatting about, Arrogant Ape. How well is the action communicated? I still haven't gotten past the hospital scene for reason described earlier, but the first fight wasn't incredibly impressive. The fights throughout the rest of the book are okay. Like there's nothing like they're not bad, but like they're pretty basic. Like I don't see anything super crazy being done, but I don't see anything like terrible either. They follow the fundamentals of decent page composition, but there's nothing like that's going to blow your mind. Like I'm trying to find this is a pretty good example of like some solid fights from the latter half of the book. Like it's as I said, it's nothing crazy, but like it's not bad composition or anything like that. Like it's not going to blow you away. We got some hails coming in for the commie. Commies are like carpet baggers. They always come in at the end. Accurate. But yeah, that's really all I've got to say about the book. Like I don't want to harp on a bunch of stuff and try and come off as like, I know better about this, that, or the other. These are, as I said, these are my opinions. If you enjoyed this book and it did speak to you, that's great. And I won't take that away from you. But as far from what I can see as somebody that, and Dave and a few other people know this, I worked as a freelance journalist in the industry, and my job was to write reviews, specifically of comics and comic book related content. And I have produced I am about to produce my fourth book in the indie sphere. We got B Rose in the chat. Everyone coming in towards the tail end of this. Granted, I know that most streams are running closer to an hour, but like reviews don't generally take that long. It's like 20, 30 minutes. And then we've got Arrogant Ape saying, welcome to my channel, guys. Kami, our channel. Yes. Hailing the B Rose indeed. But yeah, next one of these for next Friday, which will be a little bit earlier, because I've got work I got to get to next Friday, but I am going to be doing one next Friday. The goal will be there will always be a Brews and Reviews every Friday. So I look forward to seeing you guys in more of these. And the next one, I am going to be reviewing Company Men, because I got my hardcover of the book from Lee Byron Carver. I won't go into it, but I will say that it is a much better book than Peregrine. And I'm very excited to talk to you guys about it. I had a blast with Company Men, and I've read it around 4 times at this point. So I read it twice when he sent out the digital, and I've read it twice since I've gotten my physical copy. It's absolute blast. Buddy Lord says, I think they got caught up on the idea of showing people how it should be done instead of writing a story. And that could very well be the case. There definitely does seem to be a lot of things where it's like, are you telling a story or are you just telling me a sequence of events? Buddy says Odin is a comic machine. I can neither confirm nor deny. But yeah, man, as I said, next Friday we'll be reviewing Company Men. Tonight I will be on Professor Murph's talking about the disturbing history of Friday the 13th. It's going to be a blast. He and I have been talking about doing there's somebody that just showed up in the chat that we're not even going to acknowledge because fuck that guy. But anyways, thank you all for coming out and hanging out. And if you have any thoughts of Peregrine, if you've read it and you want to leave it in the chat, I'd love to hear it. And maybe that'll be a fun thing is, getting people's reactions to the books and doing like a reaction portion of the stream where we go through and look at what people thought of the book that we reviewed last week. Danny's the nameless cohort that has appeared in my chat that I will not acknowledge by name says, do not watch Perth Comics the Friday the 13th video. Well, Danny, that is an endorsement for every single person here to go watch it. Kami Mark says, check out our Risk game stream tonight. That sounds like a fun time. Risk is always an interesting time. But anyways, as I said, this edition of Brews and Reviews is over. You guys have a good day. And we will chat again next week. And you know what? Yeah, actually, Arrogant Ape says new CG book club. That sounds like a great idea. So if you have read Peregrine Wings of the Falcon, please leave your review in the comments section. When I go and do my next stream of this, I will bring all of the comments up and we will talk about them for a few minutes and get some other opinions out there. Because who knows, maybe I'm just a pretentious asshole and I didn't get it. But anyways, I will chat with you guys here in a bit. It was great hanging out. Hope you enjoyed this first edition. And next Friday, I will be in better shape, hopefully. All right. Cheers, guys.